Hi pals, it's me, Artie, there in pronouns only. My video this week, I am talking about Love is Blind because we recently just watched that. And I know the last episode, the reunion, will have already happened by the time this came out. Haven't seen it yet, so I thought I'd discuss my thoughts on this reality TV show instead as well. My mum chose this one to watch because of feedback she's received from people she knows, particularly at work. And also we just kind of wanted to watch something that didn't require too much brain power. You know, something a bit more lighthearted, something that didn't require too much paying attention to follow everything that's happening. Something that you can passively digest mentally. You know, especially between the murder crime dramas we love to watch, and the medical dramas and the firefighter dramas that we watch / binge on the regular. Something a little bit more lighthearted, silly, cringy, ideal. Sorry for the repeated light angle camera changes. As you can tell, I am not in my usual spot, so I'm trying to find something that works for me comfort-wise, but also for my camera, just like looks and appearance wise. Low-key, maybe I should get some of these blinds because it's giving softbox lighting. So yeah, like I was not sure I was going to care about this show. I'm not gonna lie. Usually when I get invested in a particular program, I'm quite loyal to that show. I don't tend to dip into other shows, but I guess this year, 2024, is the year where I'm trying some new terrible dating reality TV shows, apparently. And yeah, I was just having another one of my burnout days where I just couldn't use my brain anymore, and all I felt was just stressed. So I wasn't really present in the complete beginning, like half hour, but I did sit and give it a go. We started I don't know, this is the thing, this is how little I know about Love is Blind. I don't know if this has been going on in the UK for a while, so I'm just going to say the most recent UK Love is Blind. We started that season like super late. Like I said, it's basically finished now, and I think we maybe watched all of the episodes in under a week, maybe. And like there just seems to be very few episodes for Love is Blind compared to things like Married at First Sight or Love Island. So yeah, we did catch up pretty quickly because there just weren't many episodes. And like, whilst I'm not particularly keen on the name of the show, Love is Blind, I don't have a good alternative suggestion. Generally, I do like a lot about this show, and I was somewhat surprised. You know, I like the idea of getting to know somebody without seeing them first. All of the contestants talk to all of the other possible matches. So like everyone has a chance to get to know and chat to different people and make their own choices. Whereas with MAFS, you're paired and married before you know anything. And the first thing you know in MAFS is basically just what somebody looks like because you see them at the altar, right? And that often ends up putting many of like the participants on Married at First Sight off of their partner, as they can't like possibly meet whatever expectation they have in their mind, particularly as some of the contestants over the years can be somewhat more or less superficial. But with Love is Blind, getting to know people one-on-one, only hearing their voice and seeing like where you match up in places that matter. I mean, I know looks matter to some degree, but like you really cannot be with someone who's hot and just has a stinky personality, you know? But like you're basically finding out how you get on with each other first and having a chance to talk about future expectations, things that you want, possibly different cultural life experiences, etc. I think that's all a really great idea, unless the people coming onto the show are also actually really superficial, which is really, that's also possible. I've sort of talked about this a little bit here and there, but personally, I find, because I am on the asexual spectrum, I personally find that people become even more attractive when like I know them or like get to know them. I think this is something a lot of people generally are similar in that regard, but like don't often give people like this opportunity for that to actually happen, because much of our society does value looks above most other things. I also like that they pick, like, most of them only picked 2 people to carry on talking to regularly, but like they pick 2 or like a person to spend more time together away from normal life things. I can't read my script. I don't even think that makes any sense. I do also like the way the show sets this up. So like they spend, I think they said like 2 weeks in the pods getting to know people before deciding on who they want to pursue more seriously. So then they pursue that one person. When they leave this experiment, they kind of have like a little holiday for like 4 to 5 days, I think, where they can still spend some time together, still away from like normal life things, without phones and all that sort of stuff. You know, kind of honeymoon phase. But then after that, they go and live together, and they have a lot more freedom than the Married at First Sight cast members seem to, and they have more freedom than Love Island as well. Because yeah, I think it was last year's UK MAFS, or maybe the year before, I can't remember at this point, weren't even allowed their own phones and had to have these like old, you know, little buttons, text only kind of phones, and they don't really go out. They're not really allowed to go and do stuff, so they spend a lot of time with each other, like all the other people of the cast. They can't spend time with their friends, so they have to rely on their other cast members, which I think then just leads to more drama. And like most of these shows, these people end up just like spending all day exercising or like sunbathing, you know, like things are just kind of boring for like a viewer to watch. But like they have nothing else to do. They're just not allowed to do anything else. Whereas like Love is Blind, they are, I think this recent season, they were in an apartment block in Camden. So they could go out and about, they can invite their friends and family over. A couple of them who aren't really from London were also allowed to like travel to where their families were or friends were, so they could all meet, etc. They all have their phones again. And yeah, like we saw people traveling to like places like Birmingham, Northern Ireland, I think Newcastle. Is Faye from Newcastle? I don't know. And like they still had their cast group meetings or like hangouts, like drinks and stuff, just not as often and not as like gimmicky. And they also got to meet some of the people from the pods who didn't get a match, basically. I also really like that there's like less obvious interference with these couples, you know, particularly when it comes to MAFS. We know the producers are meddling a lot, and in not great ways, and we know the experts love to interfere and love to give lectures when they actually know fuck all about the couple they're talking to. And like, I think the reason why there's so much drama in Married at First Sight is mostly due to the experts and the producers. You know, they bring out the honesty box at the dinner parties, which is honestly just a shit-stirring mechanism. They expect all of the couples to do all sorts of like strange and honestly not great tasks that might be really out of somebody's comfort zone, and then the experts bully and demean the people who don't feel comfortable doing those things, and then obviously the whole like commitment ceremonies, which is just group therapy, where they have to divulge all this really, really personal stuff, you know, not only to the entire UK, maybe even the world, but also in the moment, all of the experts, and in front of everybody else there who could quite easily weaponize some of the things they're saying, and also they all have their opportunity to sort of like throw their 2 cents in a lot of the time. And like, yeah, Love is Blind, there's just none of that. There's none of that. There is some drama and tension, you know, like on personal levels, sometimes among the couples, sometimes among just the contestants generally. You know, some examples was like Demi, Ollie and Kat, that whole scenario, or just between Kat and Freddie, Benaya and Sam. Tom and Maria had a few moments, like Tom, what do you mean you judged her for being a makeup artist and that you somehow deem your job as a PR exec as more worthy and a more important job that shows you have, I don't know, even remember what he said, but you know, like he was saying, oh, it shows I have ambition, as if being a makeup artist doesn't. But also there was a bit of a spat between Ollie and then Demi's cast friend, whose name I can't remember. Jasmine. I really liked Jasmine, so pardon me. That's one of the issues with the show being so short. No hope in hell I'm gonna remember it, like anyone's names. You know, whilst there is still like that drama and tension, it isn't being stoked or started, supposedly, by producers or experts. A lot of the time as well with Love is Blind, the cast members will have like 1 or 2 supportive friends among the cast to help them. And they usually just go and like talk it out. They don't really need the experts, they don't need to be therapized. They just kind of go and like get on with it. They just go and talk through what the problem is for the most part, which is so refreshing, honestly. You know, they aren't relying on totally random matchmaking. You know, she's disabled, he has a disabled dad, locked in. She wears socks, he likes to put socks in his mouth, locked in. She weighs her food, he weighs his food, locked in. And like, they are in charge of matching themselves basically, but they both have to give their consent, pretty much. Both have to agree to move forward, and like they all, like for the most part, all seem to be aware of why they've chosen to go on this show. You know, it's either they always pick the wrong person, basing things off of looks, or other people are super judgmental of their looks and find it hard to get past that. There's also some trust in the show generally, of course, that, you know, this is the only season I've watched. So this may not be true for all seasons, obviously, especially across like Love is Blind around the world. But like there is some inherent trust with reality TV like dating shows that the people you're on the show with are not going to be ugly. So like regardless of who you end up picking on Love is Blind, they are going to be like pretty decent looking, even if they're not necessarily like your usual type or like supermodel influencer looking. Like, I mean, you know, there was a bunch of people who didn't get coupled, so, and I only really seen them in like brief shots and like their photos that were put in an article that I was using for this. And honestly, reality TV dating shows need to be sued for their like promo photos of their contestants, because I genuinely feel like they are doing people so dirty. Like, I think I said that for Love Island. A lot of the people looked better like in the show than they did in their promo photos, and the promo photos are basically meant to be you looking your best, so why do they look so fucking terrible? So like, I don't trust those photos anymore. So like, the other people who didn't get through and maybe look kind of ugly in their photos, don't worry babes, I don't believe the photo is an accurate representation of what you look like anyway. I think whoever keeps taking these photos and editing these photos needs to sack. But like, back to my original point, there is some kind of trust that everyone on the show is like reasonably good looking, even if they're not supermodel standard. And that does give the contestants more of a reason to stick around and push through any concerns they might have of like, you know, oh, that's not my usual type. Because they already got to know the person first, which is something we always see on MAFS, is like so many pairs who seem like they could have been really great pairs, one or both of them cannot get past the whole, it's not my usual type. It's like, well, why are you here? There's a reason why your usual type ain't working. If you're not going to give it a go, don't fucking sign up. On casting the Uggos, point two, I feel like Love is Blind has a more like normal people, has more normal people on it. You know, like MAFS has struggles with the influencer to reality TV style pipeline that most reality TV has like a problem with these days. Even the recent Big Brother had a lot of like models, previous reality TV show cast members, generally influencers. Love Island couldn't help but cast 40 women with the same face. And Joey Essex. And I mean, I'm pretty sure quite a few of them were like influencers, online content creators. Like I think Sean, the sweet shop guy, I think his sweet shop is also like his social media content. And like, yeah, whilst I think everyone that we saw on Love is Blind is gorgeous, they are more unique and less like manicured or like manufactured. Most of the cast are skinny, to be honest. There's no one that I would really truly call fat or plus size in this season, but like the cast have got imperfections that to me add to like their beauty. The only person who admitted to any kind of augmentation of the face was Sam, who got a nose job. I mean, I feel like this is the first time we've had a guy on a reality TV show who's had some kind of cosmetic, you know, surgery or whatever done. So interesting. I don't think anybody else talked about that at all on this show. And then yeah, like the skinny people on the show weren't like skinny. They were just straight size women of different sizes and proportions. And then the men varied in like how they kept themselves in shape. So some of them were more muscular and were more like, I don't know, like strength training, muscle man looking. And then some of them were just kind of like slim dudes. I don't think there was a fat guy. And then yeah, kind of furthering on that point, some specifics. I honestly was a little bit shocked that Ollie, who is a muscular black guy, is also a vegan and has ADHD. So slay. And like he did a really great job, I think, of really how he describes like ADHD impacts him day to day, that I really don't think has been done justice on other TV shows generally, like even fictional ones. I don't think like I don't know of many canon ADHD characters, so honestly can't even think of an example to bring up. But yeah, like he doesn't make it out to be a superpower. He's very honest that it is very disabling for him and it makes it hard for him to do day-to-day tasks and that it can make tasks take so much longer than it does for a neurotypical person. And it does make me wonder whether he's medicated or not. He didn't really talk about that at all, because it doesn't really seem that he's medicated. I feel like he would have maybe mentioned that, oh yeah, I take meds and it helps or not, whatever. He just sort of said how debilitating his ADHD is. And then, yeah, he also talked about how he does also struggle in some of like the group cast dynamics after choosing his partner. And then also how he responded to his partner Demi opening up about her endometriosis, which she's said also impacted past relationships. But like his response was just like, it's not an issue at all. Like, whatever you need, like whatever, I will do it. That's not a problem at all. And like, I just think these two are a really great couple with their own disabilities and access needs. Like where it like reasonably luckily their access needs and their abilities are kind of like opposites to each other, so they kind of make a good, like, relatively well-rounded couple where they can make up for each other's either inability to do things physically or mentally, or support them through those moments to be able to do things. And I think they're both just generally quite understanding people and were very like non-judgmental when they've had those conversations. And then as well, it was really nice to see Maria and her family, as you know, they are Muslim, and we've had quite a shit show in the UK, particularly around the perception of Muslim people. And you know, like it's daft to say, but like Maria was trying to explain some cultural differences to Tom before she introduced him to her family, and like what to expect and how to act when around them versus like what actually happened. Yeah, it was just kind of funny. Funny to me. It seemed like a bigger deal. You know, like the PDA in particular being the main one. But like how for me personally, like how they were all together, it's just like how I am with my family and any partners I've had. You know, like I'm not really one for PDA generally, but like especially not in front of my family. So like, you know, I wouldn't necessarily say those things are just a cultural thing. I think it's kind of like, of course, yeah, the cultural aspects come into it, but I'm trying to find the right words to say that basically it's just like it's not as different to other families who aren't Muslim. Like there wasn't really a lot of difference to me in that kind of dynamic. But then also, whilst Maria's family had their reservations about her being on the show and about the point of the show and how quickly they're all supposed to fall in love and all that sort of thing, they were also still so loving and accepting of Maria's choices and supported her and accepted Tom into their family. Basically no questions asked, and said they would treat him and see him as part of the family. Whereas like Tom's family, or at least his mum, did not feel the same way. So it's just a little bit ironic and interesting in some ways of like what the expectation is of certain families or certain communities and how they respond to things, when actually low-key a lot of the white people involved in these shows are actually a lot more conservative and a lot more judgmental. Who would have guessed? And I think it's really interesting seeing both of these shows, Married at First Sight and Love is Blind specifically, as they are similar in so many ways. But the cast of Love is Blind get time after proposing to really decide if they want to get married to that person or not. Whereas Married at First Sight is reversed. Love is Blind is very self-led, whereas MAFS is almost like spoon-fed, force-fed, feeding the people without knowing much about the actual dynamics of the couples, and giving quite like blanket advice that might not suit a lot of people. MAFS has so many episodes where it doesn't really feel like a lot really happens when it comes to like progressing the relationships on the show, and has so many couples. You know, we'll have the like initial couples, and then usually a few will join a bit later on as well. So I think we end up with anywhere from like, I don't know the exact numbers, but you know, it's something like between 6 and 10-ish couples, and that's like 20 fucking people to remember anything about. But then also it might be more than that. I don't even remember. Like, I don't remember. I don't keep track. I just noticed how different these shows felt based on numbers of couples, because Love is Blind has way less episodes but like shows more actual couple slash relationship development over the 12-ish episodes, and they aren't clouded by
you should be like the others.
It's more like building the relationship they uniquely want with the other person. Plus they only follow, yeah, like literally six couples, which gives them all more opportunity to be on screen, whether there has been drama or not. Whereas like MAFS a lot of the time feels like you have to be in drama to be on screen. And so many of the quieter couples get neglected and then get 5 minutes on the couch, and then suddenly their relationship is falling apart and nobody knows why, because we haven't seen shit from them, because there's been so many other dramas, like literally most of the time as well, unrelated to the actual relationships and more just among contestants. And I feel like the one main shame about Love is Blind is that by design it means it has to be heterosexual, or has to be gay, or has to be bisexual. Like, you can't have a little bit of everything to satisfy like all audiences, because, you know, all the women talk to all the men initially, and we just don't see a bunch of those people because they didn't find a match. So that, you know, just means there's no gay people. If they are queer, it wasn't talked about this season, but it could very well be a repeat of Lyndall from Married at First Sight, where she's bisexual and it was never mentioned. Ever. And she was put with a man when she could have been put with a woman. Cowards. You know, I personally would be very here for a bisexual version of Love is Blind, because I think there's always room for like more, I don't know, drama, interesting plot lines, other issues to come up that just wouldn't inherently come up in this sort of situation. I don't know how they would do that though, because they separate them into two separate groups. Would they do, you know, there's logistics that need to be discussed and thought about, but you know, but also it would make that more inclusive to specifically non-binary people to get involved as well, because of course binary trans people could definitely be involved with Love is Blind as it is already, but yeah, we're always missing the non-binaries, and I want to say some more non-binaries. But yeah, like, I don't know if this is just how the UK one has gone so far, or if it's how all of them go, but like, I actually do, yeah, like the setup of the show and think it's less gimmicky than Love Island or Married at First Sight, and more set up to actually support the contestants to thrive in their couples. And like, the most ridiculous thing to me, in like my personal opinion about the show, is the proposal. Being in love after 2 weeks and getting married at the end. But like, you know, they need to have some silly, ridiculous stakes. in this show. Otherwise it would just be, I think, a little bit too boring for mainstream watching. I could do without it, but also I don't think it's the worst thing I've ever seen in a show, you know. And I guess this is their way of upping the stakes for everyone. This is the video. I'm done now. Let me know if you've watched Love is Blind. I genuinely think it's one of the better setups for reality TV dating shows, particularly at the ones I've seen / heard of anyway. Yeah, it still has problems because I love to see my gays, and there are no gays. But that's my video for this week. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, watch my other videos, because watch time, YouTube partner, thanks. And I will see you next week. Bye.